Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of The Stone Genius. I'm Ro, the Stone Genius TSG. Welcome. I am going to attempt to do this somewhat sober. Oh shoot, now I gotta, see, if I had a producer that would have been all over this, I could have changed my soundboard keypad back so I could do applause. Too late. Man, I screwed the pooch on that one. So I will tell you that sometimes if you are not a podcaster or know someone that is a podcaster, sometimes podcasters may use language, verbiage, terms that would lead you to believe that they may be a larger operation than what they actually are. For instance, I'll just use myself and the shows that I do. I will often say in studio, something regarding a studio. When I mention studio, that is a desk in my living room that has two microphones and boom arms connected to them, and I have my soundboard here too. So now I also have to watch my silences. My wife says that I pause way too long. I go, what do you mean? She goes, well, here's one of your pauses. And then she's like, get it, going to sleep. So I will try to watch my pauses. A lot of things coming up for the show that I'm excited about. I hope everyone else will be just as excited I am. There's some great interviews coming up starting this week. That's why I'm doing this on Monday. This is going to be a very light week for me, which is good because it is the week that I'm recording this. Fat Tuesday's coming up, Ash Wednesday. So it's party week. I mean, every week's party week. You never know when you're going to die. So hello. Speaking of which, I need to light something up. I don't. I need to get another cart. I really enjoy carts just because nothing to pack, nothing to spark up. Give me just... Can you indulge me for a second? That's my cart. I just had to reach it. Yeah. So anyway, this week is going to be light for me, which I'm excited. When I do interviews, when I do this, best case scenario for you as a listener is that I will write down, like I did today, just a very brief outline of some things that I want to talk about. Whether we get to them or not, that's totally irrelevant when I write them down. When I actually do interviews, as opposed to one that I did today, when I do interviews, I actually spend quite a bit of time. And that's what I find is frustrating. I do enjoy it, but I do have a regular full-time job, and I'm just the type of personality that my goal for this is not really, it's not been about monetary reward. So that being said, that's not a carrot that dangles in front of me. So I will put this on the back burner. So it'll be, I work my real job so I can make money. Then I like to relax. And then if I have time to do these shows, then I definitely will. So when I do an interview, depending on who the interview is, sometimes it takes hours. And I know that some of you that have listened to my interviews are questioning that statement right there, that it takes hours of research to get ready for these interviews. At least with me, and some of it is I will have basic questions that I will start with, then I will come up with follow-up, and then something that should have taken a matter of minutes all of a sudden takes 15 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour. For an example, tomorrow on this show, this very show that you're listening to, well, podcasts are weird, so it's not like you're listening to this live. So the next episode that will come out will be the day after this one is released. It will be with Catherine Owens. If you maybe have said, that name sounds familiar, it's because she is now the first two-time guest that I've had. She was on the show with her, air quotation, regular job as a real estate agent or realtor here at Malford Casey in Kansas City. So Catherine came on. I interviewed her yesterday about, she used to be a competitive Irish dancer. And I'm going to let that sink in for just a second, because I too did not know that was a thing. And maybe I should have. I mean, if someone would have said, do you know of competitive Irish dancing? Is that a real thing? I probably would have said, yeah, it sounds like it should be. But I just had never thought of it. I never thought of it. Just not if all the stupid things I think of in my life. And remember, a few weeks ago, I spent all day wondering whether every nation has ninjas and Japan's are just the worst, and that's why we know of the Japanese ninjas. Yeah, that's what I think about all day. So when I do some of these interviews, it is a rabbit hole. So Catherine, Irish dancing, when I do an interview, there is brief conversation before the interview starts. Anything you want me to touch on, anything you want me to stay away from, just some basic. If there's anything that I'm unaware of that should be aware of or they need to know, then we discuss that prior to, and then we start. And Catherine even made the comment, I don't know how you're going to find a show out of this. I believe that was her comment, a show. And when we talked afterwards, she was concerned that there would not be enough. I mean, it's Irish dancing. And if you're still listening to this and you're intrigued by Irish dancing, it's a rabbit hole, man. It is. I haven't thought since the last time a commercial for Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance, came out, which Catherine believes he retired in the early 2000, mid-2000, like 2005-ish. So it's been a long time. I have not given Irish dance a second thought until I found out Catherine used to do this competitively. And the reason for that is once she mentioned that she did that, I was like, what? And I get it. Some people just don't think about that. I used to play in competitive dodgeball, literally going to national championships in Chicago back-to-back years. And I say that to people, and they go, well, we could see you being an idiot playing dodgeball, and we didn't know that was a thing. We thought that was a movie. And it is both. So I spoke with Catherine yesterday for an hour about Irish dancing, and we had to stop. My thought was people were probably so excited about listening about Irish dance and they just needed to find someone to have sex with. And even if they couldn't find someone, they were going to have sex by themselves. That's how excited they were about that hour. And I just couldn't go, I'm going to give you another hour. I'm giving you 2 hours right now. But it's coming. So next weekend, the hope is to do a second part of Irish dance, because there are a whole bunch of other questions that I came up with. I didn't know. I suggest, here it is. If you're a stoner, you will probably be like, I don't think the Irish dancing, that's something I want to listen to. And if you're a genius, you're probably like, that's definitely something I don't want to listen about. It's one thing to watch Irish dancing and then listen to two people talk about it, probably. I don't know for sure, but probably. when we were talking about Irish dancing, I mean, even little things like hard shoes are called hard shoes. Soft shoes are called gillies. And I wish I had a sound that would boing. Like what? So hard shoes are hard shoes, but soft shoes are gillies. Don't get it. I also want to ask, these are follow-up questions for episode 2. And so I'm going to tempt you with these questions that I will be asking in the, what would you call it? The final chapter. 2 chapters, open and close. In the second part of this interview, there is what's called a fesh. Phonetically, you would say it would be like F-E-S-H, fesh, but it's spelled F-E-I-S. And it's a festival. And I wonder, and I know people have done it, but they should call it a festival. No, I was not high enough. I thought that I was high enough when I said that it would be funny. And then when I said it, I was like, nope, I'm not high enough. That was not funny enough. So anyway, Catherine, it's not just about Catherine, although tomorrow it will be. Please listen to that show. And if you're like, you know what, I may give it a minute, do this. Just put your listening device, whether it's your phone, laptop, whatever, put it far enough away that you're going to be too lazy to get up and change it. Once you've started the episode, you're going to just continue until the end. It's like when you are watching YouTube videos at home and a commercial comes on and you judge the amount of time the commercial has in it versus the amount of time it would take you to go over and get the remote. I would suggest listening to the show. It's great. Wednesday, or as they would say if this was a truck poll, Wednesday. Maybe they wouldn't say that. I don't know. But Wednesday, we will have Mariah from the Salty Sex Cast, which is a podcast, which is amazing. Talks in depth about different subjects and how people communicate about sex, where sex is, comfort levels, things like that. You know, I recently bought a prostate massager. And I will tell you, it's not bad. I have told my wife this, that as opposed to being more of it does not feel bad. But I have heard with those in the past, some people can do that and just have an orgasm. That was not me. I thought it would be funner because you can control it with an app to wear it like when I was hanging out with my parents, like at their bedside as they're dying, and then my wife's over there in the corner adjusting the settings. Yeah, Mom and Dad, I'm so gonna miss you. They'll be like, oh, you're so sad. You have tears in your eyes. I'll be like, it's on 11. Oh. I don't think it turns to 11, but that'd be cool if it did. So I thought it would be much more of an entertainment. Or if you had to go to a function that you didn't really want to go to, like a baptism. Unless it's your kid, no one wants to go to a fucking baptism. You might as well send the pictures. Now you can stream it. No one wants to go. And if you think they do, and if your family says they do, they don't. But that, if you're going to have to go or feel like you're going to have to go, then I would suggest, if you're a man with a prostate, then you would put in a prostate massager. It will just, and let people control it. That would be funny. You could tell how someone felt about you by what setting they put it on. Oh, that's nice. So the first time I let my wife control it, she was sitting on the couch and I was at the computer. I'm sorry, I was in studio. I wasn't. I was sitting at the fucking desk. So I was at my desk, and I was wearing it, had it in. I don't know what you would call it. I guess wearing it, it was in. It was on. It was in place. It was working. It was doing its job. It was high and tight. Now, that was a weird thing. When I stood up, it just kept falling out. I'm just kidding. It didn't do that, but that would have been funny. I was worried at first. And then I was like, and the first time I was putting it in, because you don't ask your partner. Well, we didn't. And we've been together 26 plus years. So we've seen a lot of stuff. Our bodily fluids, other bodily fluids, not in that, I mean, like kids throwing up, dogs, and, all that stuff. But no. So, anyway, I don't know how I deviated so bad. Yeah, I do, because this is called the Stone Genius, and I took a rip off my pen. And see, I'm really tempted. I want to take another hit off my pen right now. But if Bobby's listening, and she won't hear me when I whisper, if she's listening right now, she'll say that I was too high, and she'll be really mad. But I might do it anyway. Shh, don't. So, anyway. Ooh, there's that kicker. So, boom. Still don't like that word. I think that's why I was using pauses. And I think that my wife would determine that using the word so would be less annoying than having a long pause. So, however we got to my butt, let's back it on up here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. We're going to back it up. So Wednesday on this show, The Stone Genius, we have Mariah with the Salty Sex Cast. Great interview. I didn't even know what to talk about. Now, I will tell you with that interview, it was strange because there was such an information overload that I didn't know. I could have asked a gazillion questions. I literally could have talked to her for days about things. Because here's the thing with me is I'm always very open about talking about sexuality, nudity, whatever the case may be. But very rarely do I find someone that can reciprocate that. Even Bobby, to an extent, will not want to talk about certain things or tell me to dial it back a notch. Her words, not mine. So, Mariah, great interview that will be on Wednesday for this show. Now, I will tell you this also. These interviews and my interviews going forward will debut on each one of my shows. Currently, there are 3. There's the Ro Show with Steven. Comes out every Monday. There is the Longest One Night Stand with Bobby and Ro. Comes out Monday. And then this show comes out whenever I feel like I can get it out. Which, much like my penis, is more often than you would think. Hold on. I think I have something for that. Boom. Yeah. So we got Catherine, Mariah this week on this show. I may do a wrap-up show at the end of the week. I don't know. I may not physically talk to you. There may only be 2 interviews for this show. That may be it for the week. I don't know yet. Depends on how this goes. After that, so I have a big interview coming up at the end of this week with Cran Organics. They are an edibles company, medicinal edibles company, cannabis for Missouri. I will be talking to their CEO and their vice president. We will be talking, this will probably happen over a couple of interviews, but we will be talking initially about the company, how it's set up, what they offer, where they've come from, what their roadmap looks like. So we'll be doing a lot of talking about that. And then at some point, we're also going to talk about we're the state of Missouri, Kansas, because it's right next door. They are very different in the way that Kansas does not believe cannabis has any value at all. One of only 3 states, I believe, that has never even brought it to the floor. So poo on them. Missouri is medicinal, leaning towards going recreational as well. And because one of the major cities, Kansas City, and actually St. Louis on the other side, straddle a state line, which can make a difference. So we will talk regulations. We'll talk about that, Cran Organics. And honestly, we're going to see what the product's like too. So I've told them, it was funny, when we did the initial call with them, I was talking to their vice president, and I had mentioned that edibles do not do it for me. And they said, are you just trying to get more out of us? And I was like, no. And I literally have not found the amount, because what I'm somewhat leery of is I don't want to go overboard and be that person, because I always want to say I would never be that person that called 911 because I was so high. But even the person that did that thought they were never going to do that. That would have been that. They would have never thought they were going to do that. And that's how I am. However, I'm aware it could happen. I can't discount that fact that if I ate a whole bag of gummies that I may want to get to the emergency room. Regardless of whether I actually need to be there or not, I may feel like that and reach out, if not persuaded otherwise. So they had asked whether I was just trying to get more samples from them, which I have not at this point and probably will not prior to the interview try it, because my fear is that I don't want someone, because like for others that I know, edibles work wonderfully. And so I don't want someone to base their opinion on any product. Whenever I talk about a product, it would only be my own personal opinion, but I don't want anyone to make any inference or reference like, well, he didn't like it. Well, I have yet to find anything that works. I would love to. I would love to be able to have a gummy and right in front of someone, pull that out, put it in my mouth and go, yummy. Yeah. Or I guess now it's nom, nom, nom. Well, that may only be for ass eating. Nom, nom, nom. I am one or the other. So Cran Organics, we're going to interview. I will interview them at the end of this week. That will be coming to this show and other shows. So the deal is each one of the shows that I am involved with has, I believe, a little bit different audience. Because of that, an interview may drop first on a particular podcast just because it may be more suited or geared towards those audience members. But I also just don't want to discount other audience members from something, because, and I will say this again, if someone said, and you'd have to know me to understand the statement, I guess. If someone said, would you want to listen to an hour about Irish dancing, a podcast about Irish dancing, or stand in a 50-degree, say a 65-degree room? And you have to understand me, most people say 65, that's amazing. To me, I feel like my body is in the throes of hypothermia at 65 degrees. Give me 114 at 10% humidity, I would be happy any day of the week. Lastly, well, not lastly, but for an interview that is coming up on the very soon horizon, I am so excited. I will be speaking to Mark Young, and people are like, who is Mark Young? Or maybe it's, I'll be speaking to Mark Young. And I don't know why it turned off so quickly, but there we get the crickets. Mark Young was my academic advisor at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. I would have never made it through and finish my degree without Mark. Mark talked me off the figurative ledge multiple times. It seemed like the beginning of each semester, and I finished online. I have never met Mark face-to-face, even though I used to talk to him on a lot. And that's probably how he would say it too. He'd be like, Ro, I talk to you a lot. So I talked to Mark, and Mark was just amazing. So what we're going to talk about is I graduated college, and even though I finished online, this is one thing that I feel will be very interesting to talk to Mark about is I finished in December of 2018. And then a year later, they went into the pandemic and the shutdown. Well, because my school was fully online, which was one of the things that I found so rewarding, yet so challenging at the same time, that it was nice to have Mark there to just talk some sense into me and to call me a dumbass. I don't believe that was an academic term he used, but I got the gist. And I needed that at that point. So we're going to talk to Mark about how maybe things have changed since I was in school online to be, because that was at University of Alaska Fairbanks. Alaska is so large and remote, there are a lot of people that do remote learning, which is why it was already instituted and was so well structured. I mean, it was amazing. And see, that's one of the misconceptions I had, that when everything went online, I was like, man, I don't understand what you guys are complaining about. But it was because the school that I went to, and when I went there, that was how they were already teaching, doing instruction. So I want to know if it has changed, whether that benefited them in any way, shape, or form. And then I also want to talk to him about Alaska and just everything that's going on. It's so remote, Fairbanks, that, how much of COVID touches you there. I also want to talk to Mark about his summer. So he does some amazing thing in the summertime. For Alaskans, I found this out in my 3 years that I went to school there online, that during the summer, so during the school year, the teachers were always there for you. I took summer classes. They would always say, here's your schoolwork. Everything's due like August 1st or whatever. I'll grade it then. And then they would go camping, sailing. They would be outdoors. That is one thing that I learned about Alaskans, is that they love their outdoors, and if the weather's nice, I believe they enjoy it even a little bit more. So we're going to talk about that. So Catherine Owens, we have coming up, Irish dancing. We have Mariah with the Salty Sex Cast. We're going to be talking sex. And then we're going to talk about drugs, and then we're going to talk about school. I mean, honestly, if I told you that your evening was going to involve school, learning something, doing drugs, Irish dancing, and talking a lot about sex, you would think that was a pretty fucking good night. You would be like, yes, please. Where do I sign up? So you're welcome. After that, we're going to talk about, well, I put down jury duty, and I really needed to talk about the sex injury. So back in October, I suffered an injury during sex. During sexual intercourse with my wife, I had an injury. Or maybe it should be. Or no, because now you're wondering what the injury is, so it... yeah. So and I don't give a shit, because I'm doing doing a show on sex, so we can talk about it. And if you can't, you shouldn't be listening to the show. It's called The Stone Genius. If that's all right, the stone part is all right, but then you can't. If you get to the sex part and you're like, nope, that's the line. You've now crossed it. I don't want to hear about it. So I'm on top of my wife, and I throw myself off of my wife. I throw myself to my right. So I go to my right. I tumble off, and I thrust my right hand up into the air as to give thanks to the Lord above for what just happened. But nay, one of those, it wasn't. I was showing her that my thumb was in a position of displacement. I dislocated my thumb. So I tore what is called the UCL joint in the thumb, I believe. I want to say they said CMC joint, but I think it's CMC Music Factory. Or is that C&C Music Factory? CMC. Gonna make you So I dislocated my thumb. I was in a rigid splint. I could take it off to shower, but it was more or less it was a cast. And that fucker hurt. In fact, the day that I had it put on, I had to go back to the doctor. I go, I can't wear this. I go, my thumb hurt less being dislocated than it did having this on. And the bar that went down the thumb was pressing right on my thumb. And it did not feel good. So they made some adjustments, and I wore that for 7 weeks. I got that off. They were hoping that would heal, that I was a partial tear. And I went back into the doctor, and it was a Tuesday, and they go, well, you need to do an MRI. So we're going to set up an MRI for that week. And then the next, less than 24 hours later, during the middle of the night into Wednesday morning, I woke up sick as shit. COVID. It was knocking on the door. So I got COVID. So I had to call the doctor. I didn't have to, but I did because I'm a good human. I called the doctor's office and just told them, I did not have any symptoms, way, shape, or form when I was in there. I am just letting you know that this morning I woke up. So then I did not have the best symptoms. In fact, I'm still, what are we, 7 weeks later? I am still being hammered by fatigue. I mean, it is so difficult for me to get out of bed. Just physically, my joints hurt. Everything hurts to get out. So I was down for 7 weeks. So I finally got around to having the MRI during our blizzard a couple weeks ago. So I went out there, had the MRI done. And you know it's not good when you have the MRI and then they call you later in the day and say, can you come back? We need additional views. Which I already knew, but I did ask. I go, so are there additional views just because something was left out? Or is it generally because something was seen and they need a different angle to verify? And they said generally the latter, which it was. So I got a call, and I'm going to have surgery on that. And here's what's funny. When people have asked, like when I had my big brace on, and I'm wearing a smaller brace now just to protect it. When I wore the big brace, when people would ask, they go, what happened? I'd say I dislocated my thumb or tore a ligament, whatever the case may be. However I reference, they go, oh, how did that happen? And I would just tell them, I go, I was having sex with my wife and dislocated when I was on top of her. People would get so bent out of shape about that. I love the young people that if you say it like something like that at work and they're under 30, they think that's sexual harassment. You can't tell me that. Well, you ask me, all I'm doing is telling you a fact of how it happened. Fucking morons. So anyway, I dislocated my thumb, or tore the ligament. That was the dislocation because of that. I guess it has a name. Gamekeeper's thumb? I think it's called the gamekeeper's thumb. Or skier's thumb. That also, when you fall, it can do whatever it did. So the reason I bring that up is my surgery is scheduled for 7 weeks from now. That's the earliest they could get it in. I mean, where do we live in Canada? Look at this. 7 weeks to get to a surgery. And just so you know, I am being sarcastic there because I would love to have socialized medicine. Very much in a model like Canada or another socialist country or a country that uses socialized medicine. Because one of their biggest things, my parents are always, it takes so long to get into a doctor in Canada. Yeah, I need surgery, and it's taken me 7 weeks. In fact, from the time that I have the surgery, it will be 5 months from the injury. I know some things fell into the way there, but from the initial injury, acute injury, to the time of my surgery, we're going to be looking at 5 months. So here's the bad thing. I got a letter yesterday for jury duty. And it's during that time frame. So generally for jury duty, you have to be available to be summoned or show up during a certain time. I'm 54. The only other time in my life that I have ever received a summons for jury duty was when I was having one of my knee surgeries. It was not my knee replacement, but it was one of my knee surgeries. I don't remember one of them. I've had a lot. It's hard. Anyway, it was about 20 years ago. And I was always upset because the day that I was supposed to show up was literally the day after the surgery. And I called and I even asked, can I get bumped to the next round? I do want to do this. I do think it's not only a civic duty, but I mean, how about if you got on a really cool case? And then even if you get on a boring case, I would think it would be interesting because I love watching people. So I would be, when they're talking, I would be watching for those little, what are they, not microaggressions, but when you can see little things with people.
Hey, baby, what's up?
My wife just walked in. Oh, yeah.
It's about to get freaky up in here.
We're not. Anyway, anyhow. I hadn't fit that one in yet. Anyhow, I got something for jury duty right after my thumb surgery. So I actually discussed with Bobby, should I put off thumb surgery for a month to see whether I could do jury duty? So what I'm going to do is call tomorrow and find out. I am not going to postpone my jury duty. I think if I had my druthers, that I would rather postpone surgery and attempt to do jury duty than vice versa. I just think that it's our civic duty. I could also see myself being in there that if it was someone that wasn't a peer of mine. Like, let's just say their lifestyle is so different from mine that I can't even fathom. I would say that. I'd be like, you're supposed to get a jury of your peers, and I am obviously not their peer for whatever reason. It could be as simple as eating frog legs. And I throw that out there because I was adopted, and when I met my biological mother, brother, half-brother, half-sister, one of them posted at some point, frog legs. And I was like, no. And I keep thinking, but if I wasn't put up for adoption, if she would have kept me, I probably would have liked frog legs because I would have grown up with them. But I keep thinking there is no fucking way, there is no universe, there is no parallel universe or timeline where I'm in on frog legs. Like, that's it. Like, some people are like, I'm so hungry, and they try. Like, I always have this conversation about crabs or lobster. Who was so hungry that they looked at a crab and was like, I bet those pinchers have some really tasty meat in them. You would have to be pretty fucking hungry. And I don't think I could ever get that hungry. I just don't think I could. So let's see, what else? I wrote a note here. Let's see. If you give me a poor response, I'll make sure you pay. Oh, that was a note. I had written that down when people talk about surgery. Like I say, I will lean into it. So if I say to someone that I am having surgery on my thumb, and if they ask how I injured, if I say sex, and they get upset about that or give me any pushback, I will immediately be like, well, you're the one asking about my sex life, so why are you angry at me? And I'll just keep pushing back, and I'm like, here you are. You keep bringing it up. And I'll be like, you're the only one that continues to talk about this. Why? Just to be annoying. So you're welcome. And I'm sorry if it's like a race car and I keep going right by the microphone. And you're welcome. I just helped you test out your stereo and your headset. You're welcome. What other notes do I have? Oh, yeah. Easy week. Fat Tuesday. Woo, woo, woo. Which leads me to the last note that I have. Lent is coming up. So for you all that follow Lenten tradition, which is the 40 days, I believe, absence of Sundays that lead up to Easter, which I never understood why the Sundays were left out. And I don't know if that's left out in the days. I'll figure this out because we'll probably talk about it at some point again. I have it written down, for God's sakes. So is the 40 days including that? So here's the thing. So a lot of times in tradition, and I don't know where this started, people will typically give something up that they like for Lent. I don't know why. I don't get that. If they're like, well, it's to prove that I can do something that's difficult. Best case scenario, you're proving you can do something difficult temporarily with a reprieve of 1 day a week. I just don't understand the whole thing around it. And especially when some people will do like, I'm going to give up cussing, and then they literally will give up cussing from Monday through Saturday, but then on Sunday they can cuss, which seems like if you're going to, and I'm a cusser, and I will not be shy about which days I cuss on. I will cuss equally on each day of the week. If it ends in Y, I will fucking cuss about it. But you would think if you were going to cuss that maybe Sunday would not be the day. At least as a Christian, that would not be the day that you would probably say, yep, I'm going to cuss. My parents used to always give out sweets or chocolate. Not give out, give up for the holidays. And I never understood that. Like, because I didn't understand. The things that I didn't understand was they were giving up something that they, usually I get a dessert. So I'm giving up dessert so that I can prove that I'm not giving up dessert. But shouldn't it be something more than I can prove I'm giving up dessert? I want to prove that I can do something. I can prove that I cannot eat sugar. So I'm giving up sweets. That would be something. Instead of I'm just giving up sweets for the holiday. That it has some sort of impact or return on that investment. That if you're doing something, I'm not sure not cussing 6 days out of the week. Or for 40 days if you wanted to do the whole thing. I'm not sure of that. Unless you continue that on of not cussing, I don't think that's going to help. That's going to give you 40 days of buildup to find the first person you can and use that F-bomb on them. So be like me and just use that F-bomb on them every single day. So I don't understand that. And I don't understand Fat Tuesday, but I'm going to enjoy it. Frozen margaritas. I think we have a Fat Tuesdays here in town, which will probably be very popular on actual Fat Tuesday. But I bet we're smart enough that we could MacGyver something in the kitchen. And there's going to be two different people that hear that reference and understand it. They're going to be me age MacGyver, and I don't remember the guy's name that played MacGyver, but the MacGyver from the 80s or 90s, and then the more current Guyver from like the 2000 teens MacGyver. Because the more current guy has a lot more technology that would allow him to more efficiently do what he needs to do than the early MacGyver. The early MacGyver was doing it was surprising the amount of gum he went through, because it seemed like he was always using the foil wrappers from gums for some sort of connect something so they don't know we turn the alarm off, or disconnect something, or make this work, or don't. I'm just saying that the more current MacGyver has technology on his side. That's all I'm saying. Not saying one's better or worse, but the 1980s one is by far a lot better. On that note, oh, excuse me. But that cough brings us to an end. Not of my life. I mean, it may have sounded like it briefly when I coughed. You're like, is he going? He is 54. It could be any time. I am not, much to your chagrin, I am not going at this time, except off the air. Remember, this week it's going to be great for you all that have made it to the end of the show. You guys will have a fun week because you will hear about Irish dancing and sex. I am actually going to ask, that's a note I'm going to write down, how much Irish dancing leads towards sex. Or vice versa. Could sex ever lead toward Irish dancing? Like, could you do something in bed that your partner may say, hey, that was a great move. Have you ever thought about Irish dancing? I don't know. We're going to get down to the bottom of it. It's so sad. It's sad that maybe the best part of the show is these last 2 minutes. And just like my sex life, no one's going to get to that last 2 minutes. I mean, I rarely even get to that last 2 minutes. Anyway, thank you. I'm stoned. I'm a genius. I'm also Ro. Thanks for listening. Oh, hold on. I should have had this queued up. So now I'm going to have to talk and listen. So, So, hey, let's try this again. Take 2. Hey, I'm Ro, and I'm stoned, and I'm a genius. Thanks for listening to The Stone Genius.